Well, Buffalo, hey, how you doing? Sorry we're a little bit late because we always start on time, but right now we're about 8 minutes late, but that's okay. It's all good. This is Betty Jean Grant from Red, Black, and Green, and Sherry Sherelle Patton, the facilitator and co-host of Red, Black, and Green. And we have with us today, I had asked some candidates to come who have races in the November 5th elections, and I want to focus on the Fillmore District for several reasons. One of them is that I've been in the Fillmore District since 1980 as a store owner, and I moved to Bissell Avenue when I first came to Buffalo almost 50 years ago, 50 years in January. So what we're doing, we're going to talk about some issues, and I invited the candidates for the Fillmore District. We have one here, Mr. Raymond Brinson.
And on Facebook?
Absolutely. I do want to apologize. I had invited Mitch Norkowski. I didn't have a traditional number for him, so I put it on Facebook and I put it on several social media. He didn't get it because he had two accounts, and he went to the one that I didn't had the notification. So Mitch Norkowski will not be here, but he will be listening in. I told him feel free to comment. Also, Dave Howard, another candidate for the Fillmore, and also we have Muhammad Alam is on the ballot as well. So what we're going to do now is if David shows up or Miss Allen shows up, we're going to put them right in. But we're going to start now with the, I hate to say, I say we start with the army that we got, and my daughter said, what is that? It was a term that you work with the army that you have, and that's,
Absolutely.
and there was Colin Powell that said that.
That's good. I don't know that. So
He said we
got
got to work with what you got. So we have here now the candidate for the Fillmore District, Mr. Raymond Brinson, and Sherry's going to facilitate the data. I'm just going to be here because I don't have. And thank you, Seamus Gallivan, for the microphone. But I think I'm not going to be able to use it today. But I really appreciate you reaching out to me when I asked you, could you tell me how we can have a better telecast? And so, if you can't hear me, those on Facebook who are watching, and let me just show me because I'm talking, but you're not looking at me. You're looking at somebody else. Hi, Betty Jean Grant, and I am. If you are listening and you cannot hear me, or we're not loud enough or plain enough, just send a comment. And what we do, we will make sure that we adjust whatever we need to do. So we're going to go back to the facilitator, and we're going to first ask Mr. Brinson some brief bio of you, who you are, why you're in this race, and what you think you can do for the Fillmore District, and anything else you think we need to know between now. No, not now, November 5th, excuse me. We're voting now. Early voting started October 26th last Saturday, and it's going to be early voting until November 3rd, and then we're going to be focusing on November 5th election. So you can vote at 39 polling places in Erie County now up until November 3rd, which is this coming Sunday. For the Fillmore District, go to Broadway Market or anywhere you want to where we have open voting. Or if you can come to Delavan Grider. I'm going to call the sites that I know because you can vote any of these sites. If you live in Fillmore District and you're not near Broadway Market and you're near Delavan Grider, come on down. Or if you're on Main Street near Gloria Parks, you can vote there from 12 to 6. If you're on the west side, you can go to the Father Bell Center at 103 Maryland, and you can vote there as well. Yeah. Lovejoy, the Hennepin Center, so it was on Bailey Avenue. So right now, between now and November 3rd, you're not restricted to a specific site. Absolutely.
Take all of us.
Yes, absolutely. And so what I did is I was able to register somebody last year who had never voted, 64 years old. It's on my Facebook page. The guy was so happy.
It gave me chills.
Yes, I know.
So many people that just like haven't registered or haven't voted in 50-something years. And I took a lady down. She said last time she voted, I think it was George H.W. Bush. He was running. She said she forgot who he was running up against, but he was like, I'm going to vote for you, Mr. Brinson. She's a Republican, by the way. Right.
Well, Scott Wilson is watching, and I know that we'll be seeing him in a few minutes because he's got another place he needs to go. So we're going to do that. We're going to get started. Those who want to call in, no, you can't call in. Those who want to comment, because I'm on my phone, so you can't call me, you can call with some comments or some questions. So when Sherry comes back, we're going to start the interview. And what you can do now is give us a brief bio of who you are, why you decided to run for the Fillmore district, and what you want to bring to the district that we need to make it better than it is right now.
Well, my name is Raymond Brinson. I'm 25 years old. I'm currently working at Tim Hortons, which I put my 2 weeks in last week just so I could finish out my campaign. I used to work for National Fuel. I completely quit that job to focus on my campaign. What I want to bring to the Fillmore district is just basically more unity within the community. It's a very multi-diverse district. It's so beautiful with so many different people. It's like when we talk to one neighborhood, it's really hard to say we got the same problems over here, but when you see good people come together, and I know in this race, I probably have met some of the best people that the city of Buffalo has to offer in the Fillmore district. So with it being so wide, and as I was complaining before about back and forth towing, now I know why is this big, because it's going to take all of us to get something done as one.
Absolutely. Okay, and Sherry?
Well, first of all, I want to say hello, Facebook family, and welcome to another episode and issue of The Red, Black, and Green. I'm your co-host, Sherry Sherrill. You've already been introduced to my co-host, the Honorable Miss Betty Jean Grant, and you've already had an introduction to our guest for this week, Mr. Raymond Brinson. He's the Conservative Party line candidate for Fillmore District Council member. That's our subject matter for today. And while we're on that subject matter, I want to remind you there's early voting going on right now in the county of Erie, and there are a number of locations where you can vote early, and that includes the Salvation Army on the West Side Community Center, the Bell Center. You can vote at Erie County Board of Elections. You can vote at the Lackawanna Senior Citizen Center, at the Tosh Collins Community Center, Leonard VFW Post 6251 on Walden Avenue. You can vote at Gloria J. Parks Center in the University District. You can vote at the Hennepin Youth Center on Ludington Street. You can also vote at the Broadway Market, and last but not least, you can vote at the Delavan Grider Community Center. For an additional listing of places where you can do your early voting, call the Erie County Board of Elections at 716-858-8891. And it's important to get your vote in. So whether you vote early or whether you vote on election day, please just do vote. Nothing can change if we don't as a community, and what we have to change is our rate of voting. We need to increase that.
Right, I want to say too before you get, and why you name so many places, and people are saying, why should you name so many places? I'm going to vote in one place. No, for early voting, you're not restricted to your particular polling site.
No,
you're not restricted. You can vote any of those places she named, or the 30 that she did not name that is located in Erie County. So, like I say, if you want to vote and you not close to home, and you decide you want to vote, and as a place is open, or you want to call the Board of Election for that information, you can do so.
So, when she said you don't have to live in that district to vote at the 39 early voting locations, shout out to you, Mr. Nate Boyd, because I was taking a lady to go vote, and her sister lived in your district, and she said, do I have to go to the Delavan and Grider? I said, no, ma'am. You can come on down to the Broadway Market. So we got another write-in campaign for you, Mr. Nate Boyd, just off of early voting. We have to utilize this tool, same tool that they had down south that helped Obama get elected. Early voting is something that we have to trust that is going to help us move our community forward. Everybody that works 9 to 5, tired, want to cook dinner, they don't get a chance to vote on the 5th. This is our opportunity. I didn't know how valuable this tool would be until I started taking people down to the polls. And we have gotten a lot of people say, Mr. Brinson, you mind taking us? I didn't know if they really was going to ask or not, but they're definitely asking. So if you need a ride to the polls, my number is 716-955-0832. Again, if you need a ride to the polls, my number is 716-955-0832.
And I want to say, like Mr. Howard, Dave Howard, and Mr. Muhammad Alam, they might come in. And Mr. Nowakowski did call me back, and he got the notice a little bit later, and I do apologize because I didn't have his cell phone number, and I couldn't get his contact information from where we had called. And we finally got the email from the Board of Elections. Yes, no, Democratic headquarters.
ECDC.
ECDC, and he was able to called me and let me know he will not be here, but he will be watching and hopefully he'll be commenting. And so, and also we've been joined now by a guest, Mr. Scott Wilson. And Scott, I know you're not on the show today, but just briefly tell people what you're running for.
Well, hello, Buffalo. My name is Scott Wilson, to those of you who do not know me. I am running as a write-in candidate for this general election to become the next comptroller for the city of Buffalo. I'm running mostly to provide a new level of financial transparency for residents of the city of Buffalo, to find out where money has been going, to bring it back to the neighborhoods and districts that need it most, and working with many candidates like Mr. Brinson and several others across the city to help find out why the neighborhoods have been neglected so much and what we can do to essentially help the constituents in the city and the neighborhoods themselves.
Okay, so you were a surprise guest appearance, but I'm glad you did show up.
Okay.
And of course, this is the Fillmore District interview, but I give everybody an opportunity to let people know who you are, what you're running for, and why you're running. So good luck. I know I met you on the campaign trail many times, and you seem to be, I know you to be a very fine young man, and your future is ahead of you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Okay, so we get back to the Fillmore District, and go ahead, Sherry.
Hi, Mr. Brinson. I'm so pleased that you could be here.
Yes, ma'am.
I've seen you out and about in the community and doing lots of good works, not the least.
You don't want to say, if y'all get close together, I can do both, because I like to see both people at the same time. No, just stay where you were, just closer to Sherry.
Not the least of which was your school supplies giveaway.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And that was at the Goodyear Community Reunion event that happened over the summer. It was very well attended.
Yes, ma'am.
And I saw you had a large crowd of little children around you with their parents.
That was the 4th event we did this year.
Oh, so
Yes,
you've given
ma'am.
away school supplies
Yes,
before.
ma'am.
So this is you're an individual that's very involved in our community.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have just a couple of questions. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, but you're seasoned. You've
Okay.
been running
Yes,
a
ma'am.
very aggressive campaign.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know as a lifelong connection has been established already for at least a generation
Yes,
of
ma'am.
African Americans in this community with a particular party. That is not the party whose line you are appearing on.
No,
I'm
ma'am.
referring to the Democrats.
Absolutely.
Now, I know that some people have asked the question, and some are curious and have not thought of the question yet, but maybe before Election Day, they need to ponder this, because there is a need to increase our voting, our acuity. The not only voting, but also voting wisely, voting strategically. Every great candidate might not appear on just one line, but can you explain to us, how did you end up on the conservative line?
Okay, so this goes back to March, actually. After I did my first fundraiser, we had a discussion about the petitions at the Oak Room, and I was not really too sure about what was going on. I'm thinking I'm listening to people that had my best interests at heart, not listening to other people that were telling me to stick with it. Scott is my witness from February, I think it was, 23rd that we had to start, or 26th, up until March 9th. We had over 1,200 signatures that had to go in the garbage on my own personal behalf. I threw them away. Scott told me not to. Ms. Katrina Martin told me not to. Listening to a lot of people, long story short, it had me scramble. Even though we did go back out and we got 465 signatures, I knew Franzak ran on every party line except the independent line, and I was curious. This was in 2015, so I've been doing my homework on this for a couple years now, trying to figure out everything that we have to do to make sure we get a shot at this seat. So when I noticed that Franzak was on the Republican line, and I have nothing against no party at all, but I noticed one thing: he was never on that conservative line. So if I didn't know who I can trust after I already had to throw all those signatures away, I knew if he wasn't on that line, there couldn't have been no affiliation with those two particular people. So what I did was I reached out to Mr. Rigo. He had his nominations the day before I reached out, but I told him who I was, what I do, and how I plan on doing my campaign, and he said, come down. All he asked me to do was take my petition with my name on it and 2 other candidates that was running for different seats and get conservative signatures. Now, I don't know about however many people know about the petition process, but in the wintertime, it was cold. 375 is not a lot. Mind you, I told you we got about 1,700, but it was cold. Conservatives, you only had to get 7 signatures. I know who I am. I know as a candidate, I was going to still knock on the doors and be Raymond Brinson. Not Raymond Brinson, the Democrat, not Raymond Brinson, the conservative. I was going to be Raymond Brinson. So I basically just used that line, how everybody always use it, but I'm using it actually for the community. So it's a lot of questions, excuse me, Ms. Sheriff, it's a lot of questions that people ask, what did I have to do to get the line? Nothing but ask.
So let me make sure, am I understanding you correctly? When you first started out running, were you going as a Democrat?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Oh, yes,
Then
ma'am.
there was a situation where petitions had to be thrown out.
Yes, ma'am.
So you ran into a little glitch there.
Absolutely.
And then you had been already thinking strategically in terms of how Mr. Franzek keeps getting reelected.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had made observations and you noted around the time that you had these glitches with the Democrat initiative for yourself,
yes,
that he was never on the conservative line.
At least not 2015.
Okay, so that led you to going to the head of that conservative party here in the county of Erie and asking the question. So then you were able, through proactive
Yes, ma'am.
inquiry, gain an advantage because you needed far less signatures
Way
to
less.
get on the conservative
Way
line.
less.
See, that's something that as a community we need to know, because there is a tendency to become closed-minded and when it comes to voting, and particularly when it comes to voting on lines other than the Democrat line. You know, even increasingly, there's a disenfranchisement, there's a disenchantment that's happening that's trying to get people to have problems when it comes to not just running, but also voting.
Absolutely.
So we saw the Democrats, people who vote Democratic historically, they ran into their own version of glitches where they were being disenfranchised and running into things happening like the Board of Elections, changing polling places, not notifying of those changes. And we had a situation back when Betty Jean, when you ran for New York State Senate, and we saw the disenfranchisement of Democrat voters. So basically the point I'm trying to get to is we need to, as a community, to be flexible and to be open-minded when it comes to voting. What really truly matters is the candidate, not so much the line, because a great candidate, maybe who has been historically Democrat, you never know, might wind up on a line other than the Democrat line. And so if you go into an approach voting closed-minded, you might lose an opportunity to elect a great leader.
Well, I want to say that is not the first time that a Democrat has been on another line, because I think all the judges, if you look at Lenora Foote, she's a Democrat, as you are, Mr. Brinson.
Yes, ma'am.
But Lenora Foote is on the Republican line. I think she might be on a conservative line. I think she might be on the independence line, because they do cross-endorsement.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so by her being the only candidate, she might appear on all four lines. Now, is she less of a Democrat because she was on the Republican line? Absolutely not. And so we have to realize that there are opportunity, that if you can run as a Democrat and you're a Democrat, that's fine. But if you are a good candidate and you are not on the Democratic line, that does not say you're still not a good candidate. So we have to really vote for the person,
Not the party.
vote for the person.
And even in voting strategically that way, I know there's a question now that the community is asking, and that is, do the Democrats take the black community's vote for granted? And there is a resounding, echoing, reverberating yes.
Yes.
And so one way to keep that from happening is to be flexible and to be liquid when it comes to voting, to start thinking about the fact that we are electing a candidate more than we are necessarily electing a party line, because an outstanding candidate might bear any kind of support. And so we don't want to keep ourselves out of the running for a change to happen just because that change might appear through a candidate appearing on a different line than we're customarily used to. Now, I wanted to ask you, Mr. Brinson, just a little bit about your background. Were you born in Buffalo? Are you Buffalo born?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're born in Buffalo and you attended Buffalo high schools?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you attend public school or private school?
Public school.
Do you mind telling me what high school you
I
attended?
went to McKinley High School.
McKinley is a very popular high school. And when you were in high school, did you have political aspirations at that time?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am, not at all.
So when did you develop a political aspiration?
So before you walked in and me and Ms. Grant was talking, I bought up National Fuel and I bought up Tim Hortons. Those are two reasons. Only had 2 jobs my whole life. Started at Tim Hortons when I was 16. After that, I went to National Fuel from 16 to 21. I worked at Tim Hortons. From 21 to 23, I worked at National Fuel.
Okay.
When you read meters for National Fuel, you're going all over. Not only the city, you're going everywhere. It was, I think, an Eric Bowen flyer that I seen on somebody's lawn. And they were telling me, like, this guy is from our neighborhood, you know, he's going to really do something for us. They put a lot of hope into this one guy. And I'm, you know, just like, what's going on in my neighborhood? Why don't I see no political signs over here? Now, it wasn't a time when it was council at the time. I think it was Senate. I seen a couple Tim Kennedy signs, seen a couple Shakur Zachary signs, but that is Senate. Now I'm asking questions to my head because I'm a thinker. Who is our council person? You know, I know of Pridgen. I know of Wingo, I know of Wyatt, I know of Fontana. I do know of the other ones now, but I wasn't too familiar with those, just those ones, because pretty much around my district, and they're most, you know, a lot of people know them, and they talk about them even now in the Fillmore district, everybody that I name. So, Franzak, where's Franzak? Lovejoy has a youth basketball league. Ellicott has a youth basketball league. Marsden has a youth basketball league, but not Fillmore district. So now I'm trying to figure out, what is this councilman doing? So this is when I looked at the 2015 election results, and I seen this guy run on every line. I asked my mom, I said, Mom, can you do this? And she said, son, I don't know what they do anymore. I'm like, this guy only had 666 votes. I know like 400 people down here. She like, if you want to run for something, son, you got to make sure you do it, but you got to make sure you do it right. I took the values that I was raised off of, and I gave it back to my cuggies. This is what made me want to run, and I met Dave Howard in the same room. We had a discussion about this, and he knew that I was going to run, and I know that he's definitely somebody that has stuck out there against Franzak, also to Sam Herbert. Shouts out to them at the debate. Sam, it really wasn't a shot towards you. I was actually commending you for actually keep trying to run against somebody that had the system in the grasp. So,
because Mr. Herbert has run a historic, repetitive campaign against Mr.
So when we was on the debate scene, and he asked me a question, I said, oh, Sam, you know about this very well. You ran multiple times. It was basically to say, I'm now trying to do what we did around you and was trying to run, because I actually voted for the man. Never knew him, but I knew to say he was black. My grandma said she was going to vote for him. I voted for him. So when he was like kind of attacking me, I'm like, whoa, we supposed to all be doing this for the right reasons. And then I'm like, not really too sure about what was going on. So when I told myself that I was going to give back at like the smallest level, because I worked at National Fuel, not too much resources. We did the in and out. Do you mind if I take these donuts home? Because this is all we're going to have to eat for the whole day. This was, to this day now, the kid works on my campaign with me all day. Whenever I need him to come do anything, he do. Mr. Brinson lick drops, everything. That's my boy right now. But he said he ain't had no food. And I'm like, no food? It's, you know, about the beginning of September, where the food stamps. The mom like, she don't get no food stamps. I'm trying to figure out why not. She said because it's hard for her to take off, to get daycare service, and when her kids get out of school, it was just a whole bunch of things. And when I'm thinking, like, who do you talk to when there's nobody to talk to?
So here you are doing your job as a National Fuel. You're reading the meters. And what you perceived and what you repeatedly were encountering was lack and need.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Fillmore District is one of the most lacking in community development, economic development initiatives, and investment, public investment districts that there are. I think one of the other districts that, it could be argued all of them are, but one of the other districts that's desperate is particularly the East Ferry section of Marsden District. But also, I want to ask you, the need that you saw, there was room for you too. So, your perceptions, your sensitivity made room for you, and the lack and need were the opportunity. Let me ask you this. What is your vision for the Fillmore District? What does an improved Fillmore District in the future look like to you?
It looks like a community with everybody at the table making their decisions for the 35 other EDs. I have met over 40 people in each different district that I know wants to bring their community to the table and forward together. It's parks, community centers. It's very simple things that the people would like to have that we're for some reason not getting. So as a councilman, I know if we bring everybody to the table and map out what we think can move us together forward, that would be key to my Fillmore district vision. It's a unity thing.
You know, one of the things that people have, I've heard, particularly people from the community, the African American community said, is the lack of connectivity to Mr. Franzik's vision for the district. His lack of town hall meetings and his lack of requesting resident input into that plan, if he indeed has a plan. And what I want to ask you, minority individuals, what are some of the important environmental issues? What is going on in the environment that you see that strikes you as needs to be improved or needs to be eradicated in the Fillmore district and or in the African American community here in Buffalo?
The lack of resources that we get from public works or having somebody fill the potholes. It's hard to walk down a simple street. It's so crazy because you can go anywhere else in the city. Excuse me, I always I get worked up when I talk about my district. You can go anywhere in the city, but when you see somebody taking their child and they have to take them in the middle of the street to walk, you know it's a problem. I don't care as a councilman, any problem in the district is my problem. Your problem is my problem. We work out a solution to get it long-term fixed. It's too much trash in the district. I have cleaned up countless times and I will keep cleaning up. But I put in requests for garbage cans and we're not getting them. It's simple things like a garbage can that we can't say, well, there's trash on the ground. Let's stop giving people an excuse of to not do stuff. Put the trash can out there. And if they don't do it, I will go out there and pick it up again because I have done it multiple times. There's too much drug paraphernalia on the grounds where our kids have access to repeatedly at the parks. It's hard to even bounce the basketball when you got heroin needles, but we don't even know where they're coming from because they do the drugs over there and then they go back into their nice towns in Orchard Park, Tonawanda, and stuff like that. So we need transparency in our district.
I want to ask a question because, you know, I said I've been in the Fillmore district for a while. They reapportioned so many years ago when we got looped into the Fillmore district, so my store is in Fillmore district. But if you look at the store, it's on East Ferry Street. Now, the south side of East Ferry Street is the Fillmore district. The north side is the Madison district. But no councilman want to take responsibility for that street. They'll say it's not mine because it's not fully in my district. So therefore, the East Ferry corridor, if you go from Kerr Street all the way down to where it ends in Nevada or Colorado, where the Lovejoy district sits in, the Fillmore district has languished. We have businesses such as Grant's Variety Shop. We got several stores of Arab descent have opened there. We have a laundromat. We have a church that has a very viable food pantry. We have a car dealer, mechanic, but yet still nothing gets done on East Ferry Street, whether it's a Madison council member or whether it's a Fillmore council member. So my point is, I'm going to worry about that, and whoever's elected, I'm going to work with that individual to make sure that that area is not neglected, because Bissell, Moselle, that's why people on those streets have a hard time going out to vote because they never gotten anything in the last 33 years, okay? And so it's going to take some convincing to get them out of houses and say, okay, we got somebody now who we can believe in who's going to make sure that we're not left behind. And that is whoever is elected will be improvement over what we have right now. And I said that. But I also want to focus on things not in my district, but because I love these areas so much, the Broadway Market and Central Terminal. Larkinville's doing well. Larkinville is taking care of itself. But someone needs to have attention on the Broadway Market area and the Central Terminal. So what is your vision and what is your plan for those two entities?
I'm smiling because I was just talking to the executive director of the Central Terminal. I bought her probably a list of 15 different ideas that I've been thought of as a kid up until now, way before I was even running. Simple things. Why can't we have the gut smacker around this big circle right here? Do it downtown. It's all packed.
Yes.
What about the Taste of Buffalo? Matter of fact, why don't we take a second and look at the different stores that we have in our district and do a Taste of Fillmore? So I brought that all to the executive director attention. She was very intrigued. Then I took her around the neighborhood, let her meet some of the Muslim communities. Let her meet. Oh man, what is his name? He's gonna be mad that I forgot.
Wait, think about it. I just want to Facebook fans. If you are not hearing this well, I keep going off, but it's like a Wi-Fi issue. I don't know if it is or not. But if you are hearing this and you can understand and you can hear adequately, let me know. Just say, we hear you well. You're loud and clear, okay? Thank you so much, Facebook fans.
It's Carl, the guy that rides on his bike with the ice cream. James. No, his name is Carl. He's a black guy.
Oh, okay.
He's a black guy. He met with Miss Monica with me. Well, briefly, he gave me a shirt, and he was basically trying to talk to me on the side, like, listen, get her to get us, some entertainment down there. Ask her, can I ride my bike around? Why they have live concerts and stuff like that. And then he was basically like, let's bring music down there. So then he stopped what he was doing and talked to us, and she was like kind of surprised that a lot of people had so many ideas for the Central Terminal, yet nothing got done. Because they're not from our community. They don't care about our community. When you talk about the Broadway market and you put $4 million in paint, but we got so many vacant spaces in those for anybody can open up a shop, but when you charge such high rent, it's hard to keep, money coming in. These is mom and pop, these is everyday people in the neighborhood that's trying to sell stuff to bring back to the community. We don't have a supermarket no more. We need to invest in the Broadway market and those kiosks.
Wait a minute, Save-A-Lot's not there anymore?
Well, we have Save-A-Lot. Don't get me wrong, we have Save-A-Lot, but we don't. I love Save-A-Lot because that's where I shop all the time.
Probably not like Tops or Wegman.
But when you talk about the Broadway market, they don't really bring Save-A-Lot. They bring Camille's up. They bring up Easter time. Save-A-Lot is there for the residents that knows is there. Don't get me wrong. Save-A-Lot is thank you because now they staying open later because before they closed at like 5 o'clock on Sunday. Now they staying open later for the community. So no disrespect to Save-A-Lot. But when you talk about the Broadway market, you talk about a multicultural hub.
Okay, give me some idea of what you want to see in the Broadway market.
I want to see a multicultural hub. I want to see a variety of everything that the Fillmore district has to offer. Then you bring in the whole district to come into the Broadway market more than just one time a year. If we have Dingus Day celebrations, if we have after the Juneteenth, we have something down there to celebrate the African American community in the Broadway market. The Polish, definitely. The Dingus Day.
I think that's brilliant.
You can ask the Polish. When on the parade, the kids were spraying them with water guns from the community. They look forward to stuff being in that community. We don't see nothing.
Right, let me tell you what I did when I talked to Councilman Franzik about 5, 6, maybe 10 years ago. I think I made it after I left the Common Council. I said, you know what? Why not have the Broadway market be a multicultural center? We have 5 major ethnic groups, and this is the Irish, the Italians, the African American, the
West
Europeans, the West Indians. Well, more than ultimately 5 major that kind of settle Buffalo.
More 5 now,
Yes. But including the other people coming in, we have about 10 to 12. Why not give each dominant ethnic group a month where they be in charge of the Broadway market, and they're responsible for bringing in vendors. They're responsible for activities, for entertainment. If African American have it during Black History Month in February, and we plan our events around that. And maybe in March we have Easter, and I know Dingus Day can come up through Italian. In May, I think the St. Joseph Day. So there are enough ethnic groups in Buffalo where they can take ownership of that market. Get 12 to take ownership. That's a whole year, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, that whole year it won't be all of a sudden Easter everybody's there, and then the rest of the time nobody's there.
Yeah.
Okay, and also the Central Terminal. I'm going to talk about this.
Well, can I interject this
Yes.
just real quickly? What you're talking about, though, to have a multicultural business utilization approach to the Broadway market, you're talking about a small business development initiative and focus that needs to happen. Now, we can ask the question, and you're talking about a minority small business development utilization and initiative that needs to happen. Now, we can ask the question, why, with all of that space there, why has there not been, and we're hearing now that someone with a strong tie to the community, but also with a tie to local and regional government, talked to the existing council member, Mr. Franzik, and expressed an idea similar to yours over a decade ago. Do you think racism has anything to do with a lack of a minority business development and utilization strategy in terms of either the Broadway market itself in particular or just in general?
I'm not going to say racist played a part of it, but, you know, people tend to know what they're doing. They say it's chess, not checkers. Mr. Franzak has held this close to his heart of not pretty much ignoring us, because he knew around Easter time that the Broadway market would thrive. The other times, we don't come out to vote enough for him to really care about that community.
Right.
The people that celebrate the market around that time, if they don't live in a district, they still have family that's living on Clark, that's living on Sears, that's living in the First Ward, that's living in the Valley, that takes that tradition and come to the Broadway market, get drunk, don't get me wrong, they have a great time. It's all fun. But then soon as it's over, it's over.
You know what? I don't think it's racism. I say why, because we have the Ellicott District. The Ellicott District used to be a big part of Jimmy Griffin's tenure when he was the council member. You know, former Mayor Jimmy Griffin, Senator Jimmy Griffin, now council member. The home single home ownership, that started in the Jimmy Griffin era. We've got single houses, used to be new homes built in Ellicott District, because that was an initiative of his. The South Park Avenue coming towards Clinton Street, he was instrumental in getting all those single homes there. And then when George K. Arthur was elected at large and Jim Pitts was the district council member, they continued something that had been started by Jimmy Griffin. Now, people think Jimmy Griffin the most racist person in Buffalo. I happen to like Jimmy Griffin because anything I wanted, he did what I wanted, but he neglected certain parts of the city of Buffalo, particularly the inner city. And because of them not advocating, some of our council members didn't advocate for money for the east side, and some of the money went back. So Mr. Griffin can be held accountable for some things, and some things our elected officials who come from our community can be held accountable. So what we have to do is find out, you know, what did not happen in Fillmore, moving forward as a unit, because we have people from Bangladesh, from the Arab community. We got, that's about the most diverse district in the city of Buffalo. You know, also have a large contingency from the gay community, part of the Fillmore district.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we need to do is find out what's the best plan. Let's look at Howard Zemsky and his vision for Larkinville. Howard Zemsky, you know, last stuff started in Larkinville before he became the state economic development czar.
He's left there now.
Yeah, he's left there, but he's president of the board, so he's not really left there. He's still there. But he was able to have a vision for that area that was desolated, and it grew that into a tourist attraction that is competing with the canal side. So why can't we on the east side of Buffalo work as a team, because we have nothing in the University District, excuse me, the Madison District, Fillmore District, Lovejoy District, that will pull people from the suburb to come to our community. Now, we do the Central Terminal, which I fought for the railroad station to be there. I thought it was a great place for it. If we work with somebody who's going to redevelop the Central Terminal and take care of the housing component, maybe have housing there, maybe have law offices, maybe have a lot of things where we don't have to rely on City Hall. I know there's investment for the Bangladesh community, and they are more to move. They did what the Arab community did 34 years ago. But African American, we have to really stop complaining, get our leaders elected, and work with them and hold them accountable. Because if you've been in Fillmore District for 35 years and you didn't vote, then you're part of the problem, one of the problems why the district the way it is. So there's a new day, and we got to work together with those individuals who are elected. And I'm glad that Mr. Franzak finally retired. I thought he should have done it a long time ago.
I was coming from regardless.
Yes. Right. So
I think that, and I don't think I'm remiss. I think that racism does play a role in it. I think that the lack of the fact that Buffalo is minority, Buffalo is majority black. Mm-hmm. The fact that government exists to speak and address and resolve the needs and the lack that is impacting the people, and the lack of an economic and community development strategy that focuses specifically on the inner city. We're hearing a lot in this dialogue.
Is it racism or classism? Because let's look at this. We say racism, but you had a mayor minority mayor for how many years?
I think that just
It's classism because those of us who are African American can have this issue that we're better than the rest of us, and so I think it's classism more than racism. Because those who are in position, who are of the African American community, have not done all they could, to move Buffalo forward. They moved the canal side forward. They approved and moved a Larkinville forward. They did not move anything inside Buffalo.
Exactly
So that's not racism, that's classism.
This sword has more than two sides. It has three sides. On the one hand, there is a very palpable racism that has seen government not addressing the need and the lack and the deprivation and the disparity that is impacting the people. It is government's job to recognize need and disparity and lack and to respond, as Mr. Brinson, you did when you saw need and lack. You looked for and created and responded to an opportunity and got involved. Government is supposed to respond the exact same way, where there is lack, where there is need, and with the majority of the people manifesting that need as minorities, there is no excuse for there not being a targeted community economic development plan and strategy and investment that focuses on eradicating that need. On the other hand, we have had black elected officials whom have not addressed the needs of the inner city despite looking like the people who live in the inner city. So where we have a reflection of minority status, we have not had a reflection of commitment. So on the other hand, those same black elected officials who ran and got elected on the Democrat line by and large, those officials then go out and look to the new minority, which is the mainstream majority, they are the minority. They look to see that those developers coming from those communities got their initiatives passed and that those residents who belong to that majority minority group got their needs addressed. And so my question, as we go into move on from what Betty Jean has led us to, and answered the question of what your vision is for Fillmore, what your vision is for Central Terminal. I think she had an idea. She said that there's increasingly an immigrant community population that's coming in, that has arrived and exists and is established and even has businesses established. So they have a relationship with banks that the black community does not have.
Right.
So that again, what is your vision for getting the African American business movement or motivation or a foundation established? Do you have a vision for black business?
Well, we have a lot of black businesses in the Fillmore district. You got Mr. Michael Ray at the Groove. You got Stephen Butler over here on Genesee in Montana. I don't want to miss anybody else. I'm just going to sum it up real quick. We have to come together with what we got, but I'm going to let everybody know we're way more than just chefs.
Well, let me just say this. I'm going to tell you what we were. When I opened my store in 1980, there was 125 African-American deli store. So we have gone backwards. We had Coastin service station. We had, I don't know how many barbershops, how many fish markets. Well, not as many as we had, but all we do have seem to be barbershops and beauty shops. We certainly don't have, hadn't been for this immigrant who came from Eritrea, had not been for Mandela Market, we wouldn't have African American present in the gas station. He's got two. So my whole point is we have lost a lot. In the 50 years I've been here, we have lost an absolute lot. And it seems to be no way of getting it back because we have not had neighborhood planning. When I was in the county council, we had Antoine Thompson having the master plan every year, sitting with the master plan. We had Charlie Fisher had an overall East Side plan. We had Beverly Grade's community plan. What are they talking about now? I'm not going to hold our African-American elected official accountable, not anybody else. Because I think that forensics should be held accountable for the decline of Fillmore as much as anybody should be held for the decline of Maston University and any other district. So, make a long story short, the Ellicott district has improved, but that's due large, in fact, to the medical corridor. You know, that push for the redevelopment.
Their mall is still empty.
Yeah, the mall is still empty, absolutely. So we need to get a council member, like they used to do, have a plan, develop a plan with the community and see what is needed and how we can best get it. And so you have to be an ambassador, you have to be the liaison between the other elected official, because I have been saying since 1998 that all of those council members who represent the minority area, the depressed area of the third or fourth most impoverished city in the city of Buffalo, need to get together and have a community plan. And that's what, 20 years ago. We still don't have a community plan.
We still haven't enforced the master plans that were in place 20 years ago.
Right.
They've not been acted upon.
Fillmore, we don't have a plan in the Fillmore district because we don't have the proper representation in the Fillmore district. I know that there's different steps in, city officials, but when I say the Fillmore district, I look at Franzak directly and say, you have forgotten about the same people. When it was time for you to run, you are in the same neighborhoods. Just because you make up one house, you put your sign in front of one house in that district, that doesn't mean that we're all going to support you. But what had happened is you lied to us. You said we might get the train station. You said the Broadway Market is going to be coming better. But yet, to this day, we still have gotten nothing. We have a black mayor. We have a black council member. We have a council president, we have Mr. Wyatt, Mr. Wingo on office as well. So I'm not going to hold anybody in that position for their neighborhoods accountable for what they do. So I'm holding this directly to what we have with Mr. Franzak. We didn't have a council member that wanted to get to know the community. That is my main thing. So I brought up Mr. Ray in the Groove because what he does at his business, he brings in the community. He does book bag drive also. He does, youth movements also with Miss Tina Sanders. Shout out to No More Tears. But when it comes down to getting the camera right there where he claims there's so much tragedy at, Mr. Mike, he gets pushed back 10 times more. So go to Allentown, you get a fight in front of gyms every day, and yet you can have the camera come back to my neighborhood where they think the person is at, and now they're harassing us because they think that we went to Allentown and harassed somebody.
Well, let me tell you this, and this is my beef. There's a shooting in the parking lot, in the Mr. Michael's establishment, Groove and Grub. I forgot the old name, Club 1210, the name before that I forget. They want to close this gentleman down. But yet and still you had a shooting and a murder inside the Anchor Bar.
Had somebody drive a car right through Bottoms Up.
And was not shut down. So why are black establishment have to be held accountable for what happened outside their establishment when other people not held to the same standard? Why are we so pushed so much to close down but one or two incidents when they give other areas and other venues? Somebody got murdered on Delaware Avenue. The guy went in and stabbed 2 people. I think one died, maybe both of them died, I'm not really sure. That place closed down, but not because the city closed it down. It closed down because the owners went out of business. So what we have to do is find out why is it so hard for African-American business owner to get a fair shake? Why is it so hard for them to get the help and the assistance from government that other people and entity get?
I think you just need fair representation. I'm telling you, any business in the Fillmore district that wants to open up, regardless of color, but specifically in the black community, I will help you do everything I can to open up and have longevity. We need mom and pop stores, kick these big developers out. They have no place. I'm going to tell you another thing about these other districts. They have homes. The Fillmore district has no homes.
But it has land, has lots of land.
We should have been rebuilding on this blank canvas. It's too much space in the Fillmore district for us to not have our own mini river works. I see it happening.
Housing initiative.
Definitely affordable housing. We can
make
rows of housing down in Fillmore.
Well, there's still houses that can be sold in Fillmore district, so you have to make sure that people get an opportunity. All people get an opportunity to buy those homes. Make those housing systems available. Make the home ownership program.
They say you use Section 8 to rent the house, but there also is a paragraph where you can own the house as well.
Well, absolutely.
We need HUD to hold these landlords accountable when they don't take care of that property. The city, building inspectors, everybody has to work together, push these slumlords out, make these homes available for people that really want to come back and take care of their community.
Right. Another thing, well, you probably know him, but this guy was a developer. I forgot his name. Well, what's the guy named? Black developer was built the Ellicott District. No, not Tramell. Jackson. I forgot his name. Anderson. James Anderson Development. It was built single homes in the Ellicott District. So we go down these streets like Swan Street and Clinton Street. Okay. He built those single homes. They were not building or improving, redeveloping apartment lofts for rental units. They didn't focus on rental units because you do a rental unit, once you don't pay your rent or the rent goes up, you have to move, right? So if you're not focused on home ownership and building single-family houses, and maybe duplexes, then you're really not giving people a chance to stay in Buffalo. Buffalo's being gentrified. It's being absolutely gentrified, and I can see a moment 10 years from now, people who are low income or struggling or maybe renting won't be in the city of Buffalo any longer. So before we run out of time, what the plan you have for the Fillmore district? Can you name 5 key components of where, if I live in the district, I can look forward to? Now, I'm looking forward to East Ferry being paved. Let me tell you right now. Yes, I'm looking forward to both sides of East Ferry Street. Fillmore, Maston, somehow get it done. You can go from Main Street to Bailey if you want to, or you can go past Main Street. But from Main Street to Bailey, Ferry District, Ferry Street needs to be paved. Also looking forward to economic development. When I was a council member, we had what's called Side and Storefront Facade Program, where we gave business owners $25,000 what they can use to buy equipment, to improve their business. There's no reason why you can't do it now. Yeah, absolutely. So I named 2 if I were running, or me as a taxpayer in the Fillmore district. These are things I'm looking for from my Fillmore district council member. But for you, what are your 5 priorities that you want to address that can improve the lives of people in the Fillmore district?
First is the one that we just was talking about, is housing. Housing is very important because home ownership usually means that if you own a home, you're going to take care of the property, you're going to make sure the grass is cut. You get more homeowners, you get better communities.
Okay.
You get more homeowners, you get better communities. 2, small business development is very, very important because if you don't know, Broadway can get you anywhere in the city within 10 minutes. You take Broadway anywhere, you're going to be able to get anywhere in the city within 10 minutes.
Oh, outside the city too, because Broadway goes a long way.
Broadway stretches, but directly when you go on the canal side, Riverworks, you go anywhere in the city of Buffalo that has, some type of lot of crowds. They are coming off of Broadway, or they're going back off, coming through Broadway. So we need more small businesses that's going to benefit from that traffic.
Okay, now, what do you have to say for people who are facing high assessment? They just...
personally, since I live in this district, and no shouts out to the other candidates, but since I live over there, and I'm living next to... One house got rats and roaches. Next house, they're selling drugs on there. Potholes ain't never been filled. I'm 25 years old. I was born and the pothole was probably there. We shouldn't pay more of nothing until we get something. I would have definitely blocked that. And this is how I know that we don't have a lot of people in City Hall. Please, no disrespect to anybody that's running. I salute everybody that came before me. But if you spend a minute on Memorial Drive, you would never want to increase their taxes by anything. If anything, you're going to want to try to give them more money. You're going to try to see what their need in that community is, and you raise the money in over there, we won't have a Fillmore district. I'm going to be honest with you because we can't afford it. The same people that's struggling now to pay their bills will be going to struggle 100% more, and these are my family. Now, I'm not going to say my brothers and sisters because they all live in the Madison district, excuse me, but these are my people. I can go to white, black, Muslim, Chinese, talk to them the same way because they know me. This is what we need to come out.
So you're saying to challenge the assessment?
I would be fighting it too.
Right, we can't, because I keep going when I was a council member, but I was a council member, so I'm going to say what we did. When the assessment came up and people felt that their assessment was too high, too low, because sometimes they think it's too low too, because they want to be able to sell their house at market rate. We can challenge the assessment. These are happening, I think, in December, but each councilman has to make sure that they work with tax assessment office, City of Buffalo, to plan those meetings in the community where people can go. You need to tell them what they need to bring. They need to bring pictures of the house next to them. If there's, some depreciation, if there's whatever it is on the street that can maybe lower their assessment, they need to bring this well. So will you as council member be able to hold these public meetings so people can know how they can fight their high assessment if they believe it's too high?
Absolutely. Anything I can do within my power as council member will get done. Anything I can't do, I will travel to Albany. I will travel to the Capitol. We have to make sure that we're holding not only everybody accountable, but we're trying to work with everybody. We're going to tell them, we can bring them to the table, hear them out. But when the community talks back, they have to listen. And as councilman, I'll make sure that the community gets that voice that they need to get heard. Okay,
and also there's a problem with lead in Buffalo. There's a problem with lead in houses. The house that was built in the 1940s, Absolutely. I know they had outlawed lead-based paint in the early 1970s, but a lot of these houses, like I said, haven't been painted or they've been painted over, so the lead is still there. Also, Buffalo installed lead pipes in the 1920s. And so most houses in Buffalo, with the exception of many houses in the Ellicott District, because of the new build and because of the medical corridor and the redevelopment for St. John Tower and other, they replaced no lead pipes. So what will you do to assist people who are living in houses where there's a high lead concentration in the walls, the paint, and in the water? What will you do?
Well, I can tell you most of the houses in my district had lead in them, pretty much why they knocked them down. We go back through every house. We go back through every house. We do it in sections of from the highest risk to the lowest risk, and we make sure that those lead levels get taken, either obviously eradicated, but definitely handled to a situation where it's not harmful to our people anymore. It should have been assessed. I can tell you, nobody never came on Reed and checked it for lead. I can almost promise you, I had to do it myself.
Right, but while I'm doing it, I know the city, Erie County has stepped up this allocation to the lead program. Not enough, but it's a start. Also, the city of Buffalo has rolled out two programs. Help eliminate lead pipe and roll. It means release our old pipes. Replacing old lead lines. Those are two grant initiative programs that is available for those in the city of Buffalo. It's not based on income, it's based on need. So if you have a main line break on your part of the property from the center of the street to your house, and there is a lead line breakage, and it needs to be replaced, you can get it replaced for free. So that's good. Two programs you need to tell people as you're campaigning that there are help available and assist available. All they need to do, and another thing an employee needs to do is stay in touch with your community. Hold those meetings. I can't remember ever going to a meeting in the Fillmore district. I can't ever remember Francis coming down on East Ferry to campaign, except one year that Charlie Fisher ran against him, and one year he had 3 opponents and he came down. So to treat all parts of the district not equally.
So you know what that means? I don't mean to cut you off, but when he had to come down here, he knew he was nervous enough that the community that needed the most attention was going to wake up and say, okay, Franz, we done with you.
Right.
So he was nervous. Don't get me wrong, he was nervous. And again, whoever voted for him in 2015 and didn't feel like they got a fair share of the resources in the community, 2019, November 5th, on the conservative line 10C, you vote for Raymond Brinson. The community that needs the most resources will get the most resources. The grants, the programs, everything that we need to move our district forward, we will get. I will work my butt off. Excuse me, Ms. Grant here, I will never disrespect her.
Wait, you on Facebook, say.
I will work my butt off to make sure we get everything that we need. All we really need is proper representation. I feel as a councilman, I will be able to bring it to you guys just truthfully. I'm not, as you can tell, I'm all over the camera. This is not something that I do for publicity. It's not something that I had when I wanted to grow up to be a kid. I just seen the need of everybody wondering where, who, when, and why. Let's give you every question that you need answered. Let's answer them in a timely and effective way. it doesn't take much to bring this community together. It takes proper representation.
You see you had two questions, Sherry?
No, I just wanted to finish up Facebook family. We want to thank you for watching another episode of The Red, Black, and Green. Our guest today has been Fillmore District Candidate Mr. Raymond Brinson. And I want to remind you that the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. said, do not fall prey to a dangerous optimism or a superficial reality. You have to set it backwards. Do not fall prey to a superficial reality or a dangerous optimism. Mr. Brinson is normally a Democrat, but he is on the conservative line because it was the line that was most judicious to him during the petitioning process. He had fewer problems getting petitions, getting signatures for that line. And if you're trying to challenge your assessments, which you definitely ought to do, according to Mr. Brinson, what you can do is call 851-5353. That's the law department of the city of Buffalo. They have the Legal Aid Bureau and volunteer lawyers. They're assisting people who want to challenge their assessments. We encourage you to do that. If you have a problem or you're concerned about high lead in your pipes or in your water, contact the water department at the city of Buffalo, the water division, and they can assist you with the grant programs that can help you get rid of that lead and those lead pipes. And Betty Jean, is there anything you want to add?
I just want to give you a 1 minute or two to wrap up why people should vote for you, why you're running, and how they can reach you between now and Election Day.
Okay, so if you would like to vote for me, early voting started on this last week Saturday. Tomorrow the polls open up at 12 o'clock. If you need a ride for early voting all the way up until next week Monday, my telephone number is 716-955-0832. Again, it's 716-955-0832. As councilmen, we bring transparency to the most blighted community in the city. We bring transparency. We figure out what has happened. We'll figure out why there was a disconnection between us and City Hall. Not only do I plan on working with the other 8 council members, I plan on working with every city head in the Department of Buffalo, New York, just to make sure that the Fillmore district gets its fair share. I won't sleep until I know that everybody in my district is happy that I'm their council member. And again, this is going to a previous question about the Democrats, Conservatives, Republicans. We all in that district. I have 500 Republicans. If you know how small that fraction that Franzak had in 2015 at 666, 500 Republicans, 179 conservatives, that's 200 something away from actually removing a Democrat from the seat. So we have to stop just relying on the party to come to our need, look for the candidate. I'm not a conservative, but I am a Democrat on the conservative line. You can find me at 10C. A vote for me is a vote for us. We all win if we get this seat at the table. I want to thank Ms. Grant and Ms. Sherry. So good to meet you again. I love what I mean. She talks way better than me. I got to learn from her, man. I got to learn. She was at the Mayweather library. She was talking about the lead poison. I have told multiple people in my district about that program only because of Ms. Sherry introduced it to me at the Mayweather Library. Ms. Grant has been an advocate for our community for many, many years.
Thank you.
I definitely appreciate everything you do. I text you all the time. This is real. There's no in between with Mr. Brinson. If I tell you it's something, that's going to be what it is. If I can't help you, I will find the answer with you. Let's work together, Fillmore.
Good luck, sir.
Thank you. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to Scott, since he's still here. It's very quiet. Just let people know the lines you're on and how they can vote for you.
Well, as I stated earlier, I am actually a write-in candidate for City Controller. So at the bottom of the City Controller column, there is a little box with the word write-in. All you have to do is pick up that little pen, and rather than just fill in a circle, you have to fill in the circle and write in Scott Wilson. I have a 6-point platform that I won't rattle through all at the moment, but you can go through to my website at scottforbuffalo.com. You can call my campaign at 716-800-1420. We can reach out to me anytime. We're obviously in the crunch time, but if you folks would like some financial transparency, answers to where money is, to where it has been going, what we can do to better affect the people in the community, then I'm humbly asking for you to cast your ballot for me. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Sherry, wrap up and tell people why they should be watching every week at 7:30
Community, we're glad you were able to join in on this week's episode of the Red, Black, and Green. You know, we do this for you and we do this with you. Without you, there is no red, black, and green issue that we can tackle all by ourselves. We have to work together in order to get the change that we all want to see. We have to be that change, and that's what we're doing here. So until this time, 7:30 on Wednesday next week, where our next issue is going to be decided by you. If you want to be a guest on this show, please contact the Honorable Betty Jean Grant at 716-602-5877. You can text her, you can call her, you can also go to her Facebook page, Betty Jean Grant, and send her an instant message. You can do the same thing at Sherry Sherrill's page. And
or if they want to come on, you told them they can, how they reach you if you want to come on with the issue.
Exactly. And my telephone number is area code 716-817-0018. You pick the topics, and we help you explore them.
And briefly talk about early voting and voting, just one more time.
One more time.
And felons can vote too.
If you have not voted yet, or if you know that you are not going to vote on November 5th and you have not voted yet, then shame on you. You need to either vote on November 5th, which is General Election Day, or you need to vote now, which is the early voting period. There's numerous places where you can go to vote, and call the Erie County Board of Elections at 716, what is the number? 858-8891.
Yes.
Call 858-8891 to find out where you can go for early voting, and we need your vote. Nothing can change without your vote. Just look at your vote as that one vote that might make the difference between the candidate of your choice getting 2 to 4 years to work towards the change you want to see, or the same old status quo being upheld and nothing changing and everything staying terrible.
Right, and I want to say too, for those who were on my Facebook page, I saw a 64-year-old gentleman yesterday. He stopped me. I was at the ink spot. He said, "What? I voted. I voted for the first time." 64 years old. He voted because he registered last year. He was a former felon, but he had been off parole for 5 years, had no idea that he could vote. Yes. So if you have anybody in your family who is a former felon and who is out of jail, because if you're in jail, if you're in a prison, you can't vote. If you're in a holding center, you have not been convicted, you can vote. Ooh, there is no one except those who are who have been convicted, who are physically locked up in a prison cell. They can vote. Everybody else can vote. Holding center and detainees can vote. People on parole who are not in prison, well, you wouldn't be on parole, you're in prison, right? People who are on parole can vote. People who are off parole can vote. Only criteria, if you're locked up, you're locked up from voting. That's a good way for saying it. So on that note, I want to say thank you so much. And as we say goodbye to Scott Wilson, Sherry Sherrill.
Stay informed.
Stay informed. Red, Black, and Green. See you next week. And Mr. Brinson.
The community with the most voting power holds the power. We have to come out and vote.
And a note, I want to say goodbye, and we'll see you next week on Red, Black, and Green.